Rodman.
Eric.
Man, we almost got it. It was almost perfect.
Almost.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Xhale podcast. I'm your host, Eric Schraus, and I'm here joined by our other host, Rodman Lees. How's it going, Rodman?
Good, Eric. How you doing, man?
I am doing phenomenal today.
Good evening.
It's been a minute since we've been out, or since we've been back on the podcast.
There you go. New studio space, though. Ready to rock and roll.
We're getting set up. We've got, as you notice, one solid color behind us, which is a first for the Xhale podcast.
No dirty room, no dirty garage.
That's never happened before.
Ready to go.
Well, maybe a dirty garage, but you can't see it. That's all that matters. Let me check that we're up and running here. Our stream health is not great.
Well, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? That's all right. I'm going to play with a couple settings here while we talk as well. But what we're doing in this episode is we're going to check out a couple of knives that Rodman and I have decided are two of the best knives that you could get your hands on. The last two knives, maybe, that you'll ever need for spearfishing.
There's a little bit of variation within these two categories. But if you're going spearfishing, these two knives are the requirement. It is I'm not going to say impossible to do it, but without these two knives, you shouldn't do it. And who doesn't love a good knife? I know we both geek out on knives quite a bit, whether it's a pocket knife in the shop, daily use, or when we're actually out there diving.
Yeah.
So
this doesn't mean that these are the only knives that you should get.
It's the two categories.
There's two categories.
But I do, in these two categories, there's maybe one or two other knives that I would talk about, and we can mention that in the video. I do think the two options that we chose are pretty much the two best options in the industry.
That I agree with.
There are some variations, and we can talk about like what other what are the faults maybe, or like the drawbacks to what we selected and what you could look for to do others. With everything, there's pros and cons to each. But I think these two things check maybe the most boxes out of any knife in the industry.
Yeah, and there's some specific features we're looking for, which we'll get into.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and switch you over to, you guessed it, the action cam.
Here we go.
And we're going to take a look at the first knife here. Before we do that, though,
here we go.
I'd like to thank our sponsors.
Florida Freedivers.
Check the links in the description. I know they're probably not on there as we're streaming currently. However, they will be on there soon. Oh, Captain Mahaffey says, "What's up, boys?" And Scott says, "What up? Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining the podcast tonight." So after the fact, the links to these knives are going to be in there. You can find these on Florida Freedivers website.
Last minute Christmas shopping.
There you go. Jinx. Or check them out in the store. They obviously have them in the store as well. So if you're in the local area or you're just trying to make a drive and check out a sweet shop, they got a really cool vibe going on over there. It's definitely an experience.
Brand new fish tank.
Check that out. Come on into Florida Freedivers. Rod and I both are working there currently. And you can say hey to us and ask us any questions that you want to about any of these knives that we're going to be looking at.
All right, here we go.
Let's get right into it. Action cam. Engaged.
Bang. So the first knife that you are going to need freediving is a freediving knife. If for nothing else but to cut yourself out of any potential entanglement situations, I wind up using this knife for a ton of different stuff. Just like a lot of things in life, you never know you needed it until you strap one on, and then you find yourself using it for everything. This particular knife is the Rife Wrangler. I really, really like this knife. This is the newest edition. It was kind of born off of the Terminator knife, which was an awesome knife, but they've put some new features into it.
Yep.
Similar to the Terminator, similar sheath with this bungee cord, so this kind of trap cord that goes around the bottom of the sheath. What this does is it's a clip-in sheath, but let's say this does get pulled out for whatever reason, that bungee cord keeps it locked in. To undo it, you pop that off the bottom, fairly easy, and then slide the knife out. Right off the bat, the first thing you'll notice on this knife is it's got a fairly long handle, or a fairly long blade. This is about as long of a blade as I look for on a knife, but it is nice to have, that's about 4 inches of knife on the 4 inches of blade. That is a nice knife. I also really like the double serrations. That is a key feature. As soon as I went double serrations, it's hard to go back.
Yeah.
One really nice feature about the double serrations is you don't have to worry about keeping them laser sharp. This is Eric's personal knife. You can see Eric's Laffy Taffy belt. If you've never seen Eric shake his Laffy Taffy, I highly recommend catching Eric on the dance floor. It is a sight to behold. Who says
Blown
white
away
boy-
many a wedding dances.
Whoever says white boys don't got rhythm has never met you. That's all I gotta say. That 2-step is no joke. But Laffy Taffy dance move,
I appreciate
Laffy
the
Taffy
love.
belt.
Appreciate the love.
And you can see, although this is a stainless knife and it's got that like Teflon coat, they're calling it Teflon. We'll go with it. That black coating on the
Black
outside, black paint, basically. It's still getting a little bit of corrosion. I don't know if you guys are picking that up on the camera, but a little bit of corrosion in there. It's no big deal. On a straight blade, that's going to affect how sharp it is. Most of the time, it's just that point. If you're spiking fish, I mean, there's lots of people that are just using basically a sharpened screwdriver, the Rob Allen spike, for example. But it's mostly that spike, which you don't have to worry about corrosion. But let's say you did have to cut yourself out of some line, or you're trying to cut Dyneema, anything like that on your reel line, float line. Keeping that a straight edge sharp is a little bit of a pain in the butt. The serrations, you don't have to worry about it nearly as much. They're going to keep that, be able to saw through really anything. So I really like that double serration. And with a fish, you're trying to cut through the gills. I do that quite a bit, more so than braining it. Everyone has a different style. I don't really brain the fish. It's just, for me, it's way faster to just get in there with a knife and cut the gills out. Not only is it bleeding the fish, which I think helps the meat, but it's, I think, a little bit safer and just as fast, if not faster, than trying to brain it. If you have to stab the fish twice, I've already beaten you cutting the gills. So I really like to cut the gills. Serrations make that way easy. This little cutout right here, that's actually a wire cutter, but it's not like a cable cutter. It's an actual wire cutter. So how useful is that?
Yeah, like straight wire.
Straight wire. Yeah.
Not braided stainless cable.
Not cable, wire, like coat hanger wire.
Yeah.
Like barbed wire, but whatever.
So a couple things I wanted to mention about the double serration, because I've had people mention it to me in the stores. Most dive knives are serrated on one side, straight on the other side. So I've had people ask me, well, why does it matter that it's double serrated? If you're gonna you have the serrated side, why wouldn't you want both?
That's a fair question.
And my response to that is that I don't have to think about what side of the knife I'm using. If I have a knife that's straight on one side and serrated on the other side, I'm always going to want to use the serrated side because it works better for everything. It works better for cutting line, works better for cutting fish gills, getting through cartilage and stuff like that is a nightmare with a straight edge that you're not constantly sharpening every time you go diving. And even me, I'm a freak when it comes to sharpening my knives. My pocket knives, I pretty much sharpen every day.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Eric's left forearm has no hair on it because he's constantly shaving the hair off of his forearm to test how sharp his pocket knife is.
Yeah, exactly. So I got that biker arm.
Yeah.
Cyclist arm, not biker arm.
That Tommy special.
So for me, the least amount that I have to think about doing something is going to be advantageous, especially when you get into a situation, let's say your belt reel locks up, or you get tangled in float line, or you get tangled in line on the bottom, whatever it is. Any kind of situation like that's going to raise your heart rate. It's going to kick in your adrenaline, and your brain is not going to want to think about details as far as what side of the knife I'm using. The last thing I want to do is sit there trying to saw my way through a piece of float line or whatever Dyneema that we all know is pretty abrasion resistant, let's say. So it's hard to cut through with a straight edge that's not super sharp. I don't have to think about it. Pull the knife out. Both sides are serrated. So no matter what, I'm getting through whatever I need to get to. I'm not sitting there sawing through something. It's just going to done. So that's why that's one of the biggest reasons I like the double serration versus one serrated, one straight.
Nice. That's an awesome answer to it.
Back to action cam.
Bam. All right, so this knife is made in Italy. You'll see a lot of knockoffs. They haven't knocked this particular one off because it's brand new, but give China some time. They're gonna come out with a knockoff of it. What's nice about it, made in Italy, is that blade is fully cemented into the handle. It's actually a full tang blade. I'll get to that in a second, but it is high quality made. You're getting, it's not cheap, but you're getting your money's worth out of this knife for sure. As long as you don't lose it, it's going to last you a lifetime. Which, speaking of losing it, brings me to the first point of the handle. That handle has that neon orange coat to it. That's, believe it or not, that makes a very good difference if you drop it on the reef. Even like in like we dive pretty good viz, pretty sandy. You drop your knife, and because you're not going to notice it right away, it's going to bump out. Now you're searching a little area. That orange sticks out really well, and you're going to be able to find it. Then more so than the blade, the size of the blade, I'm more worried about the size of the handle. I see a lot of people go with knives with a pretty small handle. That is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a full handle where I can get a good, solid grip on it. And I like it to have a good, is it a hilt? What do you call this? Yeah, a hilt. I want it to have a good hilt so my hand isn't going to slide on it. What are you doing with a knife? You're stabbing with a knife. When the police are looking for a perpetrator of a stabbing crime, what they're doing is they're checking people's hands, because it's so likely when you go to stab somebody that your hand winds up sliding up the blade and cutting yourself. I really want to make sure that doesn't happen to me when I'm stabbing fish. I want a good hilt on there, and this has got a good rubberized textured grip on there that gives you plenty of purchase on there. I see a lot of knives. One of the most popular knives in the shop, it's a little tiny green knife, and it's awesome on your belt because it takes up no space. It's no drag. But I wouldn't want to go, you got a little tuna, a cobia that's going crazy. I want a big handle on there so I can get in there and work it around or get in the gills. I don't want to worry about my hands slipping down the blade on it. So a nice big handle, that's way more important to me than the size of the blade, is the size of the handle.
It's not all about the size of the blade, Rod.
No, it's how you handle it.
One thing I wanted to touch on, you were talking about a little bit of corrosion on the knife.
Yeah.
This is a stainless blade. Rife uses 420 stainless, which is actually a pretty high grade stainless.
Yeah.
However,
high chromium,
exactly. But chromium is what makes, I think it's chromium. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up at this point. Basically, the more rust resistant the stainless is, like the higher the grade, let's say, the more rust resistant it is, the softer the metal is.
Ooh, and that's a great point that we will definitely be talking about on the next category of knives.
There we go. So the 420 stainless is a really good in-between stainless blend. So it's pretty corrosion resistant. It's not like carbon steel. It's not just going to rust out on you completely. However, it is going to get some oxidation on it. So as you can see on that knife, it does have a little bit of chooch going on. But that's going to happen on any dive knife, man. This is one of the highest quality stainless knives out there. If you look at some of the lower quality stainless knives, they act like carbon steel.
Yeah.
I don't even know why they call them stainless, to be honest.
Well, it stains less. It's not stain proof.
Yeah.
It stains less.
There you go. That's a good one.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I definitely tell people. You get even when it's coated, you get an Omer laser, for example, is a very popular knife. And I see so many of them that are blunt because that tip has just rusted completely off.
Yeah. And that knife is not a full tang knife.
No.
And another thing you see with that is the blade popping out of the handle after you've stabbed a fish in the skull, and the blade stays in the fish and the handle comes off.
I had my handle rust off of it, and then it rusted back on. I imagine, though, that if I apply any real pressure to it, it's going to pop back off. But it was funny. It would just slide in and out, and then it rusted itself back together. Not great.
One more thing I wanted to touch on with the Rife Wrangler before we move into the next knife is that there are some other double serrated options on the market.
Yeah.
The reason that we chose the Rife Wrangler is there's actually only one other one that I can think of. The Rife Wrangler is a much, much more available knife. You can get it at pretty much any spearfishing store. Most dive shops carry the Rife name. at some point, so you can even at least get it ordered
Yeah.
at any dive shop, and pretty much anywhere in the world. Rife is
Yeah.
an international brand.
Yeah. You can, and you just online. You can
Yeah.
order it online. Super easy. Go
Very
to FloridaFreedivers.com.
Yeah.
Anywhere in the world.
There you go. And the other option is just less available.
Yeah.
This comes from one source, so it's definitely not.
But if you can
internationally
find another one,
Yeah.
if it has these features, go for it.
yeah, for sure. This is not the end all to knives. However, I do like the sheath on this one better.
Yeah.
I will say
I
that.
like that the full tang on this one is exposed, so you can see that there's a little bit of the tang. So the metal of the blade goes all the way through the handle, and it's exposed on the back part. For freediving, not that big of a deal. But if you're a tank diver, if you're spearfishing on a tank, you can bang this against your tank, and it works really, really well to get people's attention. That bang, 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 bang really echoes underwater, and that's an awesome feature, safety feature to have on a knife. It's just one extra little deal, but especially if you're tank diving, that makes a pretty good difference.
for sure.
Go back in again. It clips in there pretty good. That's it in the knife. It doesn't really jiggle around, anything like that. And then you throw the trap cord around the bottom of the sheath, and it's locked in there.
One little modification I do want to make to mine is I want to add a little bit of extra tag end where that knot is at the bottom, so it makes it a little bit easier to grab it and pull it over.
Grip.
Maybe even
that.
like a little piece of strap or something,
Little bead, maybe.
like a zipper pull or a bead. There you go.
People make some crazy beads.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna get that into it. All right, get that out of the way.
Bang. Out.
The next,
Out of the way.
and excuse me, we're both sick. Bear with us. The next knife coming into the arsenal, and keep in mind these are the two knives that you will ever need spearfishing.
Yep.
That means you need both,
You need both.
not one or the other.
Yep.
You need both. So with that being said,
Whooshong.
you need a good fillet knife.
You need a good fillet knife.
You can spend a lot of money on a fillet knife. A lot of money.
Not necessary.
Not necessary.
Fun, but not necessary.
Yeah, and man, there are some sweet, flashy fillet knives that are real popular on Instagram.
Let's say like the Bubble Blade, for example.
I wasn't gonna name
That Bubble Blade, I don't want to say it completely fell apart, but it's got all these like pads for your thumb. It wasn't, so it's got a big ramp right here.
Oh, I just switched you from mashing.
All
Sorry.
right. It's got a big ramp right here. That never really felt comfortable on my thumb. Like if you're skinning out a fish, something like that, I can, like the way my hand fit on that blade, I like having that flat area works way better for me. Plus there's like the handle's red with like these dark gray, maybe black ovals on it. All those things popped off.
I think they're white.
Are they white?
Yeah.
Could have sworn they were, whatever. I wouldn't know because they all freaking fell off of.
I think they're black
not?
after they pop off the hole
Yeah.
that's left.
There you go.
But yeah, they do all pop off. And it's not to say that the Bubble Blade is a bad knife. It's a decent knife, but it's not like the blade quality isn't any better than, for example, the Dexter that we have on the table here.
No. And for me personally, like I have two fillet knives. I have one that's I have the Banshee blade. It's actually available in the shop. It's basically your Bubble Blade
With a better handle.
with a better handle. So it's that Bubble Blade with a better handle. But what I like that for, I'm kind of getting ahead, but the reason why I have two is that big stiff butt. Like you want to cut through like stomach bones, anything like that. You got some meat on there where I can just punch through and cut through something. Where this is more like a boning knife, where it's using it to fillet stuff like that. I'm super, super sharp, but to like punch through bones and stuff, I like to have two. One that I'm not worried about getting dull. One that I know I'm gonna keep super sharp.
There you go.
All right. So the Dexter knife. This is probably my favorite fillet knife out there. Not only is it named after a knife wielding serial killer, which that's brownie points, but it's stainless steel. It's pretty soft stainless steel. So some pluses and minuses of that. Super soft. It doesn't hold a great edge. You hit a bunch of bones. You're filleting a Bahamas run full of fish. You're gonna have to keep this knife sharp. It's going to go dull.
Yep.
But what I really like about it is because it's soft, it takes a keen edge very quickly.
Very quick.
And people say like
one or two swipes on each side.
Yeah,
is all it takes.
Exactly. People say like when's the best time to sharpen your knife? When it's already sharp. Don't wait for it to get a full wire edge. Don't wait for it to get super dull. I'll go through a fish and it's still sharp 1 or 2 times on the knife steel just to take off any burrs, anything like that, and keep it honed. It's gonna make it way easier than trying to take that edge completely off and put an edge completely on. But still, because it's that stainless, it's super, super easy to put a nice sharp edge on it.
Exactly.
And just like any knife, making sure that you're keeping the angle the exact same on both sides and within each swipe. It's really not that hard on a whetstone.
And I mean, the Dexter knife has been around forever.
Yeah.
There's a reason every commercial guy in the world uses this knife.
Super easy to clean. There's not much to it. Good. That white handle's offers super good grip, even when your hands kind of get slimy. It's
they're
super
inexpensive.
easy to clean. Not only are they inexpensive, brand new, a lot of local tackle shops will sell ground knives. So you can
get that belly in it.
Yeah, you can find exactly. You can find knives where I don't know if you can pick this up, but you can see this is a flat ground knife, so you can see where the knife starts tapering down towards its edge. Commercial guys will use it till it's just keep sharpening it. It's where now the actual cutting surface is almost right at that point, and then they'll sell it to dive shops for virtually nothing, and then you can buy it for very, very cheap from like bait and tackle stores, stuff like that. I personally, they're cheap enough. I just go with the full blade. That way I can you get a little bit more life out of it, but it works pretty good. I also like a fillet knife that has a nice flexibility to it. When you're trying to skin out a fillet, trying to keep that knife nice and flat throughout the entire fillet works really well. If your knife is stiff and you're hitting it at an angle, you're going to leave a lot of meat on the skin of the fish. Being able to keep that knife nice and flat makes a huge difference. So a nice flexible fillet knife is key.
Yeah, if I had to take one fillet knife anywhere with me, it'd be something in this size range and flexibility.
Yeah, that's about an 8-inch blade, which for me is perfect. If I'm filleting out something thicker than, let's say I get a big tuna, for example, I catch a big tuna, anything that's going to have a fillet on it wider than 8 inches, I'll actually cut it down the middle because a fish that big is going to have a pretty solid bloodline. And as I'm filleting it, I'm just staking it out.
There you go.
So I'm not worried about cutting like more than that. If I'm filleting it off the fish, I'm either lifting the fillet and getting under there, or I'm cutting it down the middle and staking it out kind of half and half style.
Sweet.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, that's even like cobia stuff like that. That's pretty much the way you're gonna want to do it. Maybe on like bigger grouper stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do it traditional, but yeah, there it is.
Sweet.
So-
Two knives you need.
The 2 knives you need.
Ooh.
You need a good dive knife. The
Yeah.
Rife Wrangler is a great option,
Great option.
and you need a good fillet knife.
Yep.
What you got? You're gonna say something else.
Dexter. I was gonna say on the dive knife, one feature.
Dexter, if Dexter's watching this, throw us a sponsorship. You know,
Dude,
we could use that.
I would take some fillet knives.
Heck yeah.
You have a fillet knife company that you think is better than Dexter? Let me review it. Send me one to review.
Bring it on.
I'll review it.
At the same price point.
Hey, any price point, I'll review it.
I bet you. I know there's some custom fillet. I've seen some like insane fillet knives.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
$1,000 fillet knives that are handmade.
If I won the lottery, I might geek out on that.
That's a little different level though.
One thing that I'll say on the dive knives,
You need action cam.
hit me with that action cam.
All right.
So one way to get away from this kind of corrosion, especially if you're worried about the tip rusting off, which literally the tip will rust off, titanium. I personally am a big fan of titanium knives, but they're even more important to have a good serrated side on it because sharpening titanium is a chore to say the least.
Yeah.
But you don't have to worry about corrosion at all. The titanium will look brand new until the day you lose it.
Unfortunately, as far as I know, the research I've done, nobody makes a titanium double serrated knife
Yep.
yet.
Yep.
If they did,
So
that
that's
would be the knife.
That's a plus and minus of it. You know, stainless, you get double serration. Titanium, you only get half.
Yeah. I think the best, if I had to pick a titanium knife, it'd be a different pick than what you have. Ooh. I would go with the Winoka Easy Lock.
Man, you're crazy.
I love that knife death.
You're talking crazy. It's got
knife.
Probably the best handle of any spearfishing knife I've ever handled.
It's got the best hand feel.
What
it's missing is a good hilt.
Yep.
No hilt on it.
But that handle's almost so good that it ain't gonna slip.
It's like the whole handle is a hilt.
Yeah.
And the sheath, the way
the sheath is
it's
garbage.
Open
That's why
buckle.
I don't like that.
I
don't trust it staying clipped in personally.
I don't have an issue with it staying clipped in, but
it's not my favorite knife.
I sold one to a good friend of ours. He lost it, gave me a bunch of crap for it. And then like a week later, I lost mine the same way. And they just pop off of your belt, the whole sheath, everything. I jumped off the boat and
there you go. The titanium knife that I like is that Aqualung titanium.
Yep.
It's like the Omer laser, but it's titanium, and it's got an awesome sheath. It clips in, and the belt buckle screws onto the sheath. It's literally screwed on, so it ain't coming off.
Yeah.
I really like that one.
That's
not the best handle though. It doesn't have a handle like
not
the
a great
Winoka.
handle, and it's not a full tang.
It's not a full tang.
And honestly, I don't think the Winoka is either, but it's got more
way
tang.
beefier. It's way beefier.
Both great knives though.
Yep. Yeah. So there's other options out there, but these are two of our favorites
for sure. All right. So we're gonna wrap up this episode with all that being said, and I think we're gonna run another one.
Here we go.
Let's send it. Thank you guys for watching this episode. If you want to learn more about anything spearfishing, freediving related, check out our other podcast episodes or some of our short videos. We've got some vlogs going up now.
Here we go.
We put one up
this Sunday, women's world record.
There you go.
Going on the
fully
podcast.
Captured on film.
We'll see.
Sweet. So keep an eye out for those in the future as well. We're going to hopefully be doing that more often. Not just spearfishing, but also probably just fishing and maybe a little bit of hunting.
Here we go.
Cars.
Why not? Let's get crazy.
Put it all in there. Maybe less of that stuff. We'll see. This channel could be going some interesting directions in the future, but we'll take it one day at a time. So thanks again for watching this episode. Be sure to leave a comment down below if you have any questions about these particular knives, and let us know what your favorite dive knife is and what your favorite fillet knife is. And we'll tell you why it's not or why it shouldn't be.
There you go. See you guys next time.
We'll see you.